one thing that if there's no other tie between our teachers and our families, which I don't think that's true, but if there was no other ties and there was only one tie, it's place, right? I mean, like, we're all living in the exact same place. We wake up every morning and the tide's coming in and the tide's going out at the same time. And we're preparing for the weather every morning before we leave the doors, whether it's putting on a pair of flip flops or wearing our extra toughs. And I can tell you that, through my travels, I've been to a lot of different places. And it was really helpful when somebody kind of gave me a heads up and said, "Hey, you should bring your rain jacket. They say it's going to be sunny, but just in case." I mean, it made my experience so much more pleasurable to be able to say, "Wow, look it, in my backpack, I'm hiking, I'm 2 miles out, and I have a rain jacket when it started raining." So just like simple things like that. Um, why is it so important for our students to be able to connect with place? And why is it so important for our teachers to have the resources to help them do that? I think that one of the things for me is a lot about the first 6 weeks of school, right? They start to create routines, expectations, responsibilities, and so students kind of get into that routine, that schedule. And, students that have knowledge on what's expected and what their roles are, those are successful students. And being able to know that my job is this is my task every day or once a week, or our class is responsible for recycling, or, just knowing that those things are coming. It kind of takes away that anxiety of just not knowing what's coming and allows your brain to just be able to say, "This is my responsibility. This is my job." And I know that that's really a good thing for me too as an adult. So being able to have a connection to the place that I live is probably one of the most important things that I learned as a young person. And having been raised with grandparents, which is really a lucky thing, that not everybody gets the opportunity to have. For me, knowing, the Tlingit names for the islands surrounding me, or listening to my grandfather talk about Dakait, is, Nakwasina is what they call it. But Nakwasina is not a Tlingit word, and knowing the stories that go with those places. I think those things at a very early age kind of gave me the responsibility that those lands had been caretaken by our people for hundreds of years, thousands of years, and that those animals and that those waters, they weren't a possession, they were a responsibility. And I feel like being able to be engaged with our communities and being able to be engaged with our families, it's absolutely, as an educator, our responsibility to know those things or to be able to learn those things and be given opportunities to learn from our students, which I think is really, really important. So, why? Why do we want our children to have a connection? Well, if children know who they are, they're stronger. If children know who they are and what their responsibility is to their lands, they are the teachers. It opens up this place in their mind where they understand that they're just this small piece in all of the machinery of life. And I think that that gives them a job. I think that that gives them a responsibility. If they know how to count, play, day, nusk, dahun, Jin, and they in turn get to work with a group of students that knows Tlastasa, their job is to teach them Paich, Deich, Nusk, Dahun, Jin. It's not everything. They don't know every number. They don't know infinity. They don't know 3.14. They don't know pi, right? But they know those things. They know what that hand is. And that's their responsibility, right? So once they teach that, it becomes kind of embedded in them, not only in their brain, but in their actual muscle memory of their body. They're able to, when they pull their hands out, you'll find them hard pressed to not be counting in their mind. And that's where our teachers get the benefit of having these young educators underneath of them that know how they're connected to land. And I think that in our homes, a lot of times It's really important for us to be able to value our students' families. And a lot of times you're going to have students that are going to come and they're going to say, I didn't get my math homework done last night and I apologize. Or just not bring it at all and hope nobody notices, right? And maybe nobody asks them, well, why didn't you bring your math homework in? And maybe it just goes by the wayside. And then the next time lesson two comes in, they don't have the skills from lesson one to be able to build on lesson two, right? And so it starts to create this trauma, this internal trauma that this child has. But maybe the question should have been, why didn't you get your homework done? And then you would have seen probably that sparkle that says, my dad went out and set a halibut skate, and my family was up all night processing halibut. And we had to go to my grandma's house, and she made chowder, and my job was to cut potatoes. I cut 15 potatoes into quarters, right? Wow, that child just did math. And I think that even more so, it was that gift of learning, that intent to be able to learn things that are important to their land, things that connect them with their waters. So that's why I feel like students that are better connected to their lands, better connected to their communities, are strong members of society. Those are the people that are going to go and they're going to get their teaching degrees and come home. Those are the people that are going to become strong in tribal government. Those are going to be the people that are coming and rebuilding our clan houses. Those are going to be the people that are teaching people how to harvest and know that that traditional ecological knowledge is valued. If you can be the teacher that values that student, if you can be the teacher that shows that you value that by, going to these community events or being seen, being present, joining A and B or ANS, being a part of after school clubs, going down to the dock and helping somebody, figure out their fishing line that got tangled. Like being those aunties and uncles in those communities, I think are probably the most precious and most meaningful relationships because it shows that you value not only that individual student, but that family, that community, that culture, and those lands. Sheesh.